Hello, welcome to Rockshire Gaming. My name is Eric,
I'm Jake.
and today we are going to do some predicting for Marvel United Multiverse. We are filming this today on the 12th of January. When it goes out, I don't know. It's either going to go out on the 13th or the 14th. Just when I have time to edit this. Some things. First, I want to cover some retractions. Not retractions. Some places where I messed up. One, I was talking about spider characters in the last video, and I said there were 14. It's actually 15 because I forgot about the hero Venom. I'm a bad person.
You are.
I am. And then the other thing is, you actually corrected me.
I did. I caught you slipping up about a villain Ghost Rider.
Yep.
When you meant to say Silver Surfer.
Right. So I predicted in the first video I did of Marvel United, and then tried to reiterate in the second one that I still believe there is going to be a villain. I was going to say Ghost Rider again. A villain Silver Surfer that's going to be in Marvel United Multiverse. The reason I say that is because the Galactus box was teased at the time. We didn't know it was in it yet. We do now. As of today, a couple different channels have posted gameplay of the game so far, and then CMON themselves in doing their like roundup for the game. They showed the trailer for Multiverse, which included I don't remember what it's called, but it's the Coming of Galactus.
Coming of Galactus, I believe.
So, and they showed in that one there are going to be Heralds of Galactus in that, but the ones they showed from left to right, I don't know if I'll post it or not, but if you're watching the trailer and they show like the big spread of the villains or the Heralds, is we have Firelord, Gabriel Land, who is Airwalker, Frankie Ray, Nova, not from Nova Corps, but a Fantastic Four character
Johnny
that also
Storm's exes.
Yeah, one of Johnny Storm's exes who also burst into flames, and then Tyros, who became Terex the Tamer. So those are the four Heralds of Galactus in that box. I still think, because Corvus Glaive in the original Marvel United was a stretch goal as part of that you could substitute into the Infinity Gauntlet expansion with Thanos. I still believe that a villain Silver Surfer, I'm not now thinking about what I'm saying now, but a villain Silver Surfer will be in Marvel United. That is still one of my predictions.
If nothing else, just cards for him because the menu we got with the Fantastic Four box is pretty dope.
It is pretty cool. They'll probably basically make the same of similar one. I know that during the CMON live stream, they said something about if they had the mechanics in for it, Loki would have been an anti-hero, but that they were also glad in that they had two different sculpts, like a villainous sculpt and a heroic sculpt, in there. So they were glad to have two different ones. It's also cool because then you can really do some multiverse stuff and basically have Silver Surfer fight Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
So that's always cool. I also, because of the fact that the Galactus box was announced, that's why we have the Fantastic Four box. I did notice in that one that it is branded as Fantastic Four, not as Multiverse. So we have some theories about how the last Kickstarter went. And with the Fantastic Four box and the fact that there's a Fantastic Four box now, I said a while ago that I felt like Fantastic Four should have been the third campaign, and it may or may not have been, may have made some changes, but we'll never know.
I mean, probably licensing issues or because of the way the cinematic universe kind of took a turn, they probably wanted to kind of stay relevant.
So, but regardless, we are getting Galactus now. They'll have a Herald, four of them. Maybe not the one I wanted, but we will see on the 18th.
Starts on the 18th, 3 p.m. Eastern time, I think they said.
Something like 3 p.m. Eastern time. I texted you what it was, and it completely left my brain after it left my fingers. Yeah, it's sometime between 12 and 3 that day that it goes out Eastern time. So what we are going to do today in this video, and I have Jake with me because he is also a big fan of this game and whatnot, is we are going to, that's not my notes, we are going to make some guesses and predictions and whatnot as to who we think is going to make it in this game. We're not going to talk about necessarily game mechanics that are already announced with like I said, various channels have done gameplays. We're not going to be doing gameplays of Marvel United Multiverse because this is going to be the 6th video we put out on the internet. And yeah, so any gameplay that's happening on here is probably not going to be until like April 2024. So, but anyway, so we're not going to talk about any mechanics for the current game because you can watch those gameplays and whatnot. I know Quackalope, Board Game Co., and Dice Tower are all going to have gameplays by the time most likely by the time this video comes out. So there's that. So what we're going to do is predict basically who we think is going to have a shot of being a stretch goal. I have 5 guesses. Jake has 5 guesses. And then we'll also have some guesses as to what expansions we think are going to come out. And then I have some other stuff because it's my channel and I can break my own rules. Also, we're going to try to guess or try to see who we have on our list that we know for a fact will not be in this game. And know for a fact means we're guessing. So if you want to go with your first pick, I don't have mine in any particular order. And if we double up somewhere, then I'll just say that and we'll go from there.
So first pick of the characters. I honestly think the way that they kind of snuck Kang in in the end of season 1. And then we have Immortus, which is a version of him, is the core box. I think we might see another and like Iron Lad from
Okay.
Young Avengers.
Okay. That would be interesting. I didn't read Young Avengers. I think somewhere off camera, you probably see it. I actually started doing a video about how we're going to redo this room and everything. So they can in that video you can definitely see the big giant pile of comic book boxes in there. I think somewhere in there I do have Young Avengers #1. I don't know if I have #2. And I'm pretty sure #1 ends with him revealing himself that he was a younger version of Kang. Spoilers if you haven't read a 20-year-old comic book.
Shame on you.
Shame on you. Anyway, yeah, Iron Lad would be interesting. That actually goes with something else I have, but we'll talk about that later. So, but yes, Iron Lad would be interesting to have. My first one. So, a lot of what I have here, I was trying to think somewhat going with other campaigns and whatnot, like with Marvel Zombies and stuff like that, and also the current cinematic universe. And I'm realizing one of my choices is still I'm gonna die on that hill is Villain Silver Surfer. I don't know why. I'm just gonna put that one out first. I'm gonna mark it that I talked about it. So I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. But my I guess #5 pick is gonna be that the Villain Silver Surfer is gonna be in this game. Yeah, so that's where I'm at with that one. Okay. This might not go as quick as we think it is. So go ahead and go with your second pick or your #4 pick or wherever you're doing this.
I honestly think we got Howard the Duck as a stretch goal character in season 1, and with the recent kind of one shots that Disney Plus is doing with some of their MCU stuff, I think we might actually get a Man-Thing with this upcoming season, as he is the nexus of the multiverse.
There you go. So I'm trying to remember Man-Thing, and I actually have not watched any of the Disney I haven't watched any of them. I've just haven't had time to sit there and watch all the Disney Plus stuff. I think the last one I watched was I saw WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Loki.
Saw Loki.
Miss Marvel was after that.
I did not see Miss Marvel. I haven't seen She-Hulk. I haven't seen Moon Knight. I do want to watch Secret Invasion, but I haven't. We just haven't had time to watch it. Work schedule's been terrible.
Life is crazy sometimes.
My wife was working nights, and we usually watch all those together. Kids' schedule has been all over the place. But explain Man-Thing to me again. I cannot remember that character off the top of my head.
He, at least in the latest iteration, it was Werewolf by Night, and there's a bunch of hunters that are hunting the Man-Thing, and Jack Russell, who is Werewolf by Night, was trying to save his buddy, who he calls Ted, and basically he has the ability to kind of teleport, which is how he kind of travels in between the different multiverses or realities. And if you have any sort of fear in you and you touch the man thing, you will burn. That's kind of his shtick. But if you're a friend and you're not afraid of him, he is kind of scary looking. He'll kind of think like a swamp thing.
Okay.
Just to kind of reference the other comic brand character. But yeah, man thing.
So I didn't write it down on my list, but I have a feeling. As you're talking, I'm remembering some of it. I do feel like some of the classic. I don't know what else are going to fit in this game, but some of the classic like Marvel monsters and stuff like that might enter the game, especially with Werewolf by Night and whatnot. So that could be something there. So your second pick was Man Thing.
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna go with an obvious one, in that there was a show and a movie about this character, and I feel like, and I'm also taking from another game as well. I feel like we're gonna get a single villainous Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, I could see that.
And what I think would be interesting, so her whole thing in the movie, at least, or actually even in the comic books, with the whole changing reality with House of M and whatnot, I feel like, because we have a villain Wanda, but she's paired up with Quicksilver right now in the First Class box. So doing a modern Wanda, but I'm almost stealing mechanic from Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid with the Zord cards for one of the Zords. I think it's the Grave Zord. But I think in that game, the Grave Zord allows you to use Zord cards that are not in the game, that are just in a pile off to the side, that are not part of the ones you're using. And the more expansions you have, of course, it's going to work better. I feel like Wanda, with the reality warping abilities in the multiverse tie-in with Doctor Strange, and her ability in Marvel Snap.
Okay.
Which, when she gets played, she can transform a location into another location. I think it would be interesting, especially with as much content as most people have for this game, that when she would have cards that when she plays them would have you switch out locations.
That would be,
which could be a good thing or a bad thing, because if you have a location on the field that's like a healing location or allows you to get some other boon, and all of a sudden you get one that just like screws you.
Crisis tokens.
Yeah, crisis token.
Oh yeah.
Like, I think that would be an interesting mechanic to kind of play, just change up the board
and
randomly
throughout.
throughout.
It would fit.
Mm-hmm. So she's warping reality. All of a sudden, like the Blackbird turns into Avengers Tower or something like that. So I think that would be a cool mechanic. Checking mine off.
I'll go ahead and do one of the villains I thought about that would fit this box was the Hood.
Okay.
How he has I remember one of the comics he ended up with the Infinity Stones, and kind of, and I just think it'd be a good villain to kind of be able to throw in with all the other content that we do have.
I read some stories with the Hood. I feel like he was a big part of one of the first, not new, maybe it was New Avengers when that came out.
The New Avengers back was it 10 years ago?
It was well around that. Yeah. That's like 10, 20 years ago, or 20, 15 years ago. It was, I can't remember if it was pre or post Civil War though.
If I recall, it was post Civil War.
Post Civil War, but it was like one of the first things, and like New Avengers at the time was, I think it was Luke Cage's team.
Yes.
And there was stuff going on.
Yes.
That, again, during one of my hiatuses from comics because of, I'm poor. And no, it was at the time when the comic book store I went to at the time was closing down. So it's weird because at the time and Marvel was publishing Secret Wars. No, Secret Invasion. Marvel was publishing Secret Invasion, and DC at the same time was publishing Final Crisis, and they were in tandem together. I think at some point in the whatever, and because of the fact that the comic store I went to closed down, it literally on both those series. I think there were 8-issue miniseries. I think I have up to issue 7 of both, and I never. And I was so far behind on reading that I don't even think I got up to issue 7 in reading. It's one of those stories that, thank God for Marvel Unlimited, that I can go back now and read, and I probably will, especially with the new series and stuff like that coming out, and this game coming out. But yeah, no, I do not own the complete story because like life happens. So all those fledgling comic book stores, I feel for you. So, all right. So that is your number. Those are your 3, right?
That was 3.
Okay. Going with Multiverse, and one of the concepts I don't think is going to be in the game, only because it's too. And this is not my pick for who's not going to be in the game. But one of the concepts I don't think is going to be in the game fully, just because of the obscurity of it, is the MC2 stuff that I think came out in the 90s. It was about future versions of a lot of Avengers characters. It's where you have J2, which was the son of the Juggernaut, and like the silver outfit, stuff like that. He may or may not be in the game as a refresh of Juggernaut, but Spider Girl Mayday Parker, that was saved multiple times by fan campaigns back in the early 2000s and whatnot. I feel like she would be a great candidate to be our 16th Spider character in this game. I just because of fan support for that character over the years, and the fact that this is Multiverse, and she was the lone surviving series from a defunct comic line slash comic line slash I don't even know where I was going with that slash reality. That's what I was going for. Comic line slash reality. I feel like she's gonna make some appearance at some point in this campaign. I'm gonna guess mid campaign. She's gonna show up just when because the problem is you're not gonna have a big spider with the multiverse. You're not gonna have a big spider thing to anchor, like as far as an expansion goes, because they already announced the big Spider-Man expansion is going to be a new retail core, giving us a 4th core set in this game. So again, this should have been a core. This should have added this native core. I don't know why. I don't know why they didn't. Anyway, so yeah, that's my number 3 is Mayday Parker.
I was also thinking about that, but we've kind of been talking about that one off screen.
I stole it
for a while, so you got just beat me to the punch.
Is it on your list?
No.
Okay.
But list.
It's my chain bag.
No. So my number 2 guess that I would like to see and hope to see a possible version is Darkhawk.
Okay.
He got with the War of Kings kind of arc that happened. Again, this is going a while back. But that was one of the big storylines that
was within 5 years. But
yeah. When I had a little bit more free time and funds than I was buying comics on the regular, the War of Kings stuff, which happened after Secret Invasion, before the Secret Wars. They kind of brought him back, and it was just a little mini series, but then they kind of tied him in with some of the other stuff that was happening in the War of Kings, which is kind of that cosmic setting.
I'm gonna be very truthful. I'm sitting here honestly trying to remember what War of Kings was, because I thought it was a more recent thing. That's Vulcan, right?
Vulcan, Black Bolt.
That's right.
So Black Bolt as Inhuman, kind of an offshoot of what the Krees experimented with, actually went to the Kree homeland planet and was like, "Yo, I'm gonna be your king now." And then you had Vulcan of the Shi'ar was like, "Yeah, that's not good." So
I am realizing I didn't even think with the cosmic stuff, because I think I talked in another video about Annihilus and the Annihilation Wave and stuff like that. I completely forgot about Vulcan and the whole third Summers Brother thing that was like alluded to for 2 seconds back in the 90s, and then everyone just like took a hold of that, was like, there's a third Summers Brother. And we all thought it was extreme, and we're glad it wasn't. That dude, I mean, what kind of a superhero wears a baseball cap backwards? Anyway, yeah, no, completely forgot about Vulcan, all that stuff on my list. I
might be talking about him later. So.
Okay, well, I won't spoil your fun. He's not on mine. I'm telling you that right now. My next one is not because I care about the character, but I feel like at this point it needs to be in it, because I feel like this character is just getting overlooked for no good reason whatsoever in all 3 campaigns. Is Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider. They're using the Frank Castle Cosmic Ghost Rider in the new core. They used was it Robbie Reese?
Robbie Reese was in
the stretch goals for the first one or whatever. Still no Johnny Blaze. I understand them at the time wanting to use. We're talking about this being multiverse. X-Men United is definitely 90s X-Men, like that time period, and some stuff around it. Marvel United is basically like some comic book characters with all this MCU stuff. I talked about in another video where most of the characters are definitely based on their MCU versions. Bobby Reese, I'm pretty sure in
Robbie.
Agents of Robbie Reese. Yeah, I don't know why I keep calling him Bobby. He was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. In that one, so they again skipped Johnny Blaze in there. I don't know if people just don't like Nick Cage, and we're just trying to get away from that. I have no clue.
Depends on his hairpiece. You can tell if it's going to be a good movie if he has good hairpiece.
That man's literally a national treasure. Twice, yes. He was
but not enough to be in the new one.
Moment of silence. All right. Yeah, no, I think Johnny Blaze should be in the game because there's, I mean, again, going back to their comment of there's not a lot of variance. It's their own characters and whatnot. I think that they need to put him in the game. I'm just gonna say that. Yeah. Like, he needs to be in the game. The OG Ghost Rider needs to be in Marvel United, and that's my piece on that. No, I don't have any idea about mechanics, anything like that. I'm sure if he is in there, that's something we haven't talked about either. I kind of want to get into at some point, but I'm gonna let you percolate on this. May not talk about it here. I want to let you percolate. How are they gonna do all the equipment for new characters and old characters? Discuss. No. That's one of the things I don't know how they're going to do. Like I talked about before, like doing like a card pack for the first 2 seasons with characters that need it. Because obviously the equipment is character specific.
Very.
But like the chains and whatnot, I can't remember the official name. I just know there's the chains and the cycle for Cosmic Ghost Rider is specifically tied to Cosmic Ghost Rider. How is that gonna? If they did put Johnny Blaze in the game, is he gonna have a 12-card deck plus equipment cards attached to him in there? So it's going to be interesting to look at when we see the stretch goals and they say, because usually the stretch goal says it comes with character model and 12-card deck. Is it going to then say 13-card deck, 14-card deck, 15-card deck, however many? Because some of them have 1, some of them have 2 in the core box.
I think it just depends on how thematically it would go. Because with the core box that from the videos I've seen, besides Cosmic Ghost Rider, the only other one with 2 equipment was Shuri as Black Panther.
See, not everyone needs them. Like,
no,
Cap only needs the 1 shield.
Exactly.
And
Lady Thor, the Mighty Thor, she has her Mjolnir card. She doesn't need more.
But are you going to give Thor Odin's son a Mjolnir card as well? And then also he's going to have a Stormbreaker variant.
Baby Ray Wolf has the Stormbreaker. So
right. So, but are they gonna do more MCU tie-in? Who knows? Whose turn is it?
I believe it's mine.
You lose yours. Who did I say? I said Johnny Blaze.
You just went
and then I went into a tangent about something.
About how.
That's right. I was just gonna do my own thing.
So mine. I'm a big fan of Thor. If you know me, you probably know why, but. So I'd like to see again. Recently he was a herald to Galactus.
Okay.
So I'd like to either maybe see something along those lines,
I saw that figure at the store,
or maybe even because we have the Mighty Thor as Jane Foster. it wasn't like she took over his spot because he was no longer around, like during the Avengers Disassembled. After that, where he faced his own Ragnaroks in the comics and then kind of took a hiatus and then came back. He was going around as Thor Odin's son. So maybe something along those lines, or
it's like an Odin son version,
or even King Thor.
I feel like they would put Odin in instead of King Thor, maybe.
It's hard to say. I mean, depending on how much Asgard stuff we want to go into. I mean, I would personally rather see the Warriors 3 and Sif before I see Odin.
But I would also say, because I feel like some things licensing is kind of like universal across.
Yeah.
In certain things, you can see a lot of parallels between stuff like let's go with Marvel United and Marvel. Thank you. That game. You saw a lot of Avengers characters at first with that game, and then in Marvel United it was all Avengers stuff. Then once X-Men United, I was called X-Men United, it's Marvel United X-Men, but I'm just gonna keep doing what I do. Once X-Men United actually has started to hit retail, Marvel Champions has started coming out with mutant characters, and stuff like that. So a lot of things tie in. But I don't know why. Probably because I've been playing a lot lately, although not this season. But I know Odin was a big card in Marvel Snap, him and Lady Sif. So if a lot of different media is tied in together, I would probably see Odin maybe for King Thor, which I'm going to contradict once we get to the expansions. But yeah, I would like to. I think I mentioned it before. I would love to see a Lady Sif and the Warriors 3 as an expansion. I don't think we're going to get it, but if we don't get it as an expansion, I'd like for those characters to be mixed in. Again, I know they're touting this as multiverse. I still feel like it's going to be more cosmic and more Fantastic Four related. We'll see, and then we'll go from there. But from you, Odin's son or King Thor?
Or Thor as a herald would be pretty cool. Because again, it would tie in with Galactus. He could be even an anti. He could work as a hero, or swap him as one of the heralds for whatever the Galactus mode would be.
That would be good. So we both have a herald wish list. There we go. All right. So, are we on number 5s?
This is the last one of the single characters.
So you did your number 5.
Yeah.
I lost count. All right. Mine is going to be another easy one, and only because of the fact that it's another character that I feel like deserves to be in the game because of this one, more because of the long-standing history of the character. There's a movie getting ready to come out with the character, and we technically have a similar figure coming out this summer/fall, whenever, of Marvel Zombies. But I want a Hank Pym Giant Man, because we already technically have Ant-Man, the Scott Lang version. I would like to have a, maybe not as big as a Sentinel, but let's be real, I want a Sentinel-sized Giant Man on the table. Something that's not as big as Galactus, but still pretty large. I would also like with it, as going into a mechanic point of view, I think, let me make sure I'm in frame. Yes. I would like a, as part of like the equipment and stuff like that, I would like to see them put like Pym particles in there somewhere to where they actually have a mechanic where something happens when him or Lang shrink down, and then when they grow into like Giant Man. So going from Ant-Man to Giant Man.
They're not the only ones. I mean, we talked about the Young Avengers earlier. We have Stature. Cassie Lang.
Yep.
So
she'll probably be in the game.
So I mean, that it could be applicable, and Wasp uses.
That's why I think there should be a mechanic for shrinking and a mechanic for like being growing. Giant. No, because I think Wasp more so. I mean, I don't. There probably is instances where she grows.
In the comics, Wasp is a mutant, and that's how she can do what she does.
Right.
But then is
that a retcon later? Because I feel like when she came out, the mutants weren't around yet.
I mean, Wanda.
I mean,
Quicksilver, I mean, it's it's close enough that
Yeah, they go back and forth between being I can't talk today.
Yeah.
They go back and forth between being mutants and enhanced humans or inhumans or whatever, and whether or not they're Magneto's kids or not depends on the day of the week
or what universe they might be from. Multiverse. Anyways,
I don't like this game you're playing right now with me.
I know the game that we're gonna play later will be more fun.
Yes, this game will be a lot more fun. Not this game. This screwing with my brain.
Right.
All right. So yes, my number 5 individual character that I am predicting is going to be in this game in some form is Hank Pym, Giant Man, or Ant Man. So that is all I have for single characters. Do you want to, since it's technically your turn, do you want to start with expansions, or would you like me to start with expansions?
I think we'll go ahead and start with the expansions.
You?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think again, cosmic more so than necessarily multiverse, but a Guardians kind of. I know I want to say the most recent version or iteration of them I know of is the 3000. It had Vance Astro, who was Justice, but then, anyways, and then Charlie 27. There's a Yondu, and it kind of was the old school Guardians, but then they rebranded them as Future Guardians, and so see something like that.
He stole one of my ideas.
Hey, great minds think alike, man. Why do you think you have me as a guest?
This is true.
So those would be some of the characters, and then as far as a villain, maybe like a Korvac.
Okay. Did you ever read the original Guardians of the Galaxy?
No, not in any kind of entirety. I had a few single issues here and there because
in one of those boxes in there, I think is the almost complete run. I got it randomly from some lady my family knew, and I was at the time that I was reading more X-Men, and this lady was getting rid of her adult son's comic books, and I skipped out on all the Captain Americas, all the Thors, and all that stuff. And for some reason, the thing that caught my eye was the Guardians of the Galaxy. That the series ran 64 issues. I think it was 64 issues, and I have all but the first 7.
Nice,
somewhere in there. I don't know why, but I cannot. I read it so long ago because I think I read it originally as a kid. I had to have been like somewhere between 10 and 12. And I could not tell you a villain in there, other than I remember like Wolverine's great granddaughter was a villain in that story, and like one of the very like early issues and everything.
The reason I said Korvac is because in the recent Secret Wars where we had God Emperor Doom, who they now just kind of relabeled just Emperor Doom.
No, you don't want to call him God.
Well, yeah, you don't want to offend people, I guess. But there was one of the storylines in that was the current team of Guardians that we know, and the Guardians 3000, which had some of the characters I mentioned, and the other one that was kind of in there was Nighthawk or Starhawk.
Starhawk, yes.
There's too many Hawks. Hawkeyes, Darkhawk, Nighthawk.
Silverhawk, no, that's a different thing.
But Hawk and Dove.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
But no, but Korvac was in the grouping. Korvac was the villain there, and kind of would fit. Again, I don't have enough original Guardians knowledge to again pick a villain. But
I don't either, and I have most of the set. Yeah, I don't remember because there was a lot of like future Marvel, like this is what we think the future of Marvel would be. I know there was a character in there that had used the Phoenix Force.
Yeah.
That was in there somewhere. At one point, they did come back in time and meet up with the Avengers. They had to do some weird stuff because, like I said, Vance Astro has
a shield.
Yeah, and they had to do something in the comic to both shields mystically or whatever, so they would never actually touch. Because apparently, if the two shields touch, it would like break reality or something like that.
Paradox.
So yeah, it was great. My expansion ideas for two of the three, we both picked three ideas that we had, are more storyline based. And I was thinking about the storyline and how the concept of the storyline would translate to mechanics that are technically in the game, but how they would change them in the game. So my first one is I and some of these things are also mentioned. I went back and looked at Secret Wars because we have Emperor Doom in the game, and so I went back to see what some of the sections of Battle World were and whatnot. Also thinking about Marvel movies, upcoming Marvel movies, past Marvel movies, and whatnot for this. So for past Marvel movie related tie-in, I feel like they could do a Civil War box.
Yeah.
That would take the team versus team mechanic in the blue and gold box. And instead of two teams racing around necessarily to attack the villain, you would almost have two teams that are kind of doing like a almost like a PvP mode. So player versus player, where they're actually going head to head against each other. Whether or not, probably not to kill each other, take down each other's health, because that would just turn into everyone's dogpiling one person kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that both people are going for a different objective against the other person, but not necessarily against the villain. It's specifically against another set of players, like a 2 versus 2 or a 2 versus 2 or a 3 versus 3, with the villain not being necessarily a part of it. So I think it would be an interesting change to the current team versus team mechanic.
Yeah.
So a caveat to that, as I'm thinking about it right now, you can almost also do like a Planet Hulk's Scar thing and have like a giant battle royale. It probably won't, but that would be another variation of the same theme. But that would be something I would like to see, is somehow doing like a PvP thing. So whereas if like we're doing like a PvE where we're fighting against the villain, now we're just fighting against each other with no villain in there. So I think the current blue and gold is more of like a competitive PvE.
Yeah. You're both trying to
take out the villain.
Civilians, take out thugs, defeat the minions, and take out and do the most damage to whatever villain you happen to be up against. But
right.
So another expansion I'd like to see. We already have some of the characters from the previous alliterations, but along with Annihilation, there was a kind of a short offshoot. They were called the Annihilators, and some of the members were Beta Ray Bill, Silver Surfer, Quasar, Guardian from the Shi'ar Imperial Guard.
Forgot about the Imperial Guard.
And so, I'm trying to think. Oh, and Ronan the Accuser. So again, some of the characters we already have, but they're more playing a larger scale Guardian kind of esque role, and the villain to that could be, I don't know if we would want to have necessarily Annihilation from the Annihilation Wave, but maybe Blastar, also from the Negative Zone, kind of, or even the the Universal Church of Truth. Those are some of those big heavy hitters that, I mean, it was only I want to say maybe a 12-issue run of these characters, and they all kind of didn't want to do it, but they got convinced by Cosmo, the telepathic dog. So
Cosmo,
yeah, I mean, I think we might see him just because he's.
We have to stick to the list idea, man. We can't sit here and get no.
But that's one of the
so
other,
far behind
one of
the
the other expansion ideas. That, again, like I said, it fits that whole.
I mean, doing the bare minimum research before starting this video, I mean, we have a Herald of Galactus who literally lasted a month in the role. I think he premiered in a Thor issue and died in a Fantastic Four issue in the same publication year.
Yeah.
Month, actually. So, like, who knows? I'm actually going to write down, as you wrote Imperial Guard. I have no idea what the mechanics of this would be, but because of the fact that we're talking about I'm going to write this down as a maybe, only because of the fact that you mentioned Imperial Guard. I'm thinking about Tekken and the original Phoenix Saga. I don't think, because we already have Phoenix and some other stuff, I don't think we're going to have like Phoenix Saga, but it would be interesting to throw Tekken in there and have him trying to destroy the world with the Omicron Crystal and stuff like that. However, I saw something on I think it was the Facebook group today. We're dovetailing right now. Saw something on the Facebook group today that apparently in one of the playthroughs, I feel like it was Quackalope's playthrough, they mentioned something about some random character, and what's the guy from CMON's name?
I think it was Travis.
Travis. He said something about the fact that, but that's an X-Men character, and West was like, but the X-Men are already in the game, so it kind of made it seem like X-Men may not be a focus or part of this campaign. So I'm gonna write Imperial Guard in there, but that's the other reason I designed my list the way I did. I don't think the X-Men are gonna be in a thing in this, but I mean, we have 5 billion X-Men except for Generation X. Again, we have Dupe. I say we don't. I say we have Dupe, but I mean, it's like, okay, so we don't have Skin. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, we don't have Sync. I mean, Skin's probably the one on there. But Chamber, all those. Anyway, neither here nor there. Whose turn is it?
I just went on about the Annihilators.
Yes.
So
Annihilation.
Right. Or one of those others that kind of cheated a little bit with the villain, but
So I'm gonna go with, as my second pick for expansions, they are revamping the rules and the core box for Marvel United Multiverse for solo mode. They're doing that Commander solo mode, which looks like I was working. I think we both worked today while that was streaming, and then I got off work, picked up a kid from dance class, came home, got both kids fed, in bed, and then you came over.
Yeah.
After I cleaned up as much in here, it still looks still looks terrible in this room. There's stuff all over the floor. I'm also wondering how much of this is being picked up by the mic because I keep looking down here. You can monitor that better than I can. Anyway, but they're doing the commander mode, which looks like on the surface that it's you pick a solo hero, but then you have cards from other heroes as support.
That's what it looked like from the trailer to me.
Right. I didn't see the rest of the stream. That's probably one of the things I'm gonna do tomorrow morning. Is look at that and see what they actually said about it, if anything. And also, this is already going to go out by now, so what we're saying here doesn't make any sense to future us. But Dice Tower is supposed to be doing a solo mode playthrough on Friday, the 13th.
From what I've gathered from the little bits I've seen, because I also watched the Board Game Co. Playthrough, and the Dice Tower is supposed to be doing one on Friday the 13th, which is happening later than we're filming this. So I think they're going to do 2 different playthroughs. One's a solo mode, and then also featuring the other villain that hasn't been featured in previous playthroughs.
Regardless, by the time this comes out, information about the solo mode will be out.
Yeah.
So the last 5 minutes are basically rambling. The ramblings of a madman. Anyway, so with the fact that they're updating solo rules and mechanics and whatnot in the game, I feel like my next expansion, also tying into a upcoming Disney Plus series, would update a mechanic that I'm pretty sure was received poorly from the original Marvel United, and that is doing a secret invasion box that introduces some new characters in that. You can introduce like the 616 Nick Fury and some other characters, but update the trader mechanics.
Or
Or
They mentioned that.
oh, they did mention
Well,
that.
no, but Secret Invasion. But some of the villains who become heroes, the Dark Avengers, led by Norman Osborn, and have something along those lines would be.
Did I ever tell you the story about how the comic book store closed? So actually, in that, I actually skipped all of Dark Reign and Heroes.
Siege was after Dark Reign.
So I stopped reading everything smack dab in the middle of Secret Invasion. Missed Dark Reign. Missed was not Heroes Return. That was
Heroes Reborn.
No, that's here. No, that's the 90s. Age of Heroes.
Age of Heroes.
Age of Heroes. I missed Age of Heroes completely. I started getting back into comics with right after X-Men Schism.
Okay.
And with the relaunch of Uncanny and the launch of Wolverine and the X-Men, the first series. Actually, I think it was the only one, but yeah, the Wolverine and the X-Men series, and then whatever. I think it was it Hickman's Avengers. Mm-hmm. That I was starting to try to like go back and backpedal and try to grab the parts of during Infinity.
Yeah.
That's when I was starting to get
back in the full swing.
Yeah.
So you were coming back into it as I was kind of waning off.
There you go. Fill in the gaps.
Because I picked up right before Secret Invasions. I mean, I first started. Had my own job and everything, and started right around the Disassembled,
mm-hmm.
And then slowly picked up from there. But Secret Invasion was probably the biggest thing that I remember, kind of broadening my horizon and collecting more than just the little bit I was.
Yeah. Yeah, having all that disposable income during college was great. Anyway.
Good old days.
I was in college. You were in high school or?
High school.
You were in high school. I was definitely deep into college when I started reading all that stuff. But yeah, I'm old. Anyway, that's why I wear the hat over the gray. Anyway, honestly is. Still see all this though. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Secret Invasion and updating the trader mechanics from whatever was in the Thor box,
the Tales of Asgard.
Yeah. Updating those to something a little more meaty. That it would just be a better play experience. I'm not talking about something going all the ways like Shadows over Camelot as far as that stuff goes, but something to where it would be, a better play experience with the trader mechanics and having that in there. But that is my number 2 expansion. You have a third one, right? Or not?
So my third expansion.
We decided to do this video today. Like, we were talking about it, and then I called him up and texted him and said, "Hey, you want to come and do it tonight?" And he was like, "Sure, I'm going to work right now. Let me work on this now." I'm a bad person. Anyway, and I interrupted you. That's even worse. Go ahead.
The New Avengers.
Okay.
Kind of time bringing them back in, kind of full circle where I started. Last expansion. I mean, we have Tommy and Billy, Wanda's twins.
New Avengers or Young Avengers?
Young Avengers.
Young Avengers. Okay.
And then we talked about some of the others. We have the new Hawkeye, who's already been introduced in the MCU.
Right. Kate Bishop. Yep.
Patriot would be the other.
Hulkling.
And Iron Lad being who he is, a young version of Kang. So,
why not?
Yeah.
Why not more Kang?
Well, hey, if Wolverine can have as many figures and Scott Summers can have as many figures, why not have?
Listen, Wolverine only has 4. Cyclops only has 3 characters. Storm 2. What is it? I think everyone else has 2. Jean has 2. Emma Frost has 2. Namor has 2. That's the thing they were talking about in the video. It's like you have all these characters who it's like the character.
Yeah.
And they said I think they said there's more variants of a character of the same person in multiple forms in X-Men than there are technically in Multiverse is their own characters. You know with that one?
Yeah,
Okay.
that.
Because my segue to that was going to be my final expansion, and just because I feel like it would help with a refresh almost of the some of the season one characters, season one variants, and I already said this probably won't happen in another video, but I'm going to put it down anyway. Is I think they're going to do something with the Ultimates, and it would almost give you a refresh of Captain America. You'd have a refresh of Iron Man in there, kind of what you're saying of like you have younger variants of the characters. This is alternate reality variants of the same characters. You'd have Hippie Thor in there. Who else was in Ultimates?
There's a Valkyrie in there.
Probably later. I read Ultimates 1 and 2. I stopped during Ultimates 3.
You got your Hulk and Wasp.
I feel like Hulk would be because of the fact they technically
have him as Maestro.
No, I think he would be. I think he'd be the villain in an Ultimates box.
Yeah.
Or like not even have a villain in there, but he'd be like an anti-hero. So you'd have the cards to
play him
as, and then you would have the villain cards in there. What I'm trying to think. So the villain in that one was that he went crazy at the end of, like, toward the end of issue 11 or whatever.
Yeah. And they had to put him down.
Right. And then Ultimates 2, it was there was an invasion, and I feel like it was like it wasn't even like that version's reality or version of Red Skull. It was that reality's version of Red Skull. I mixed up my words so bad there. I can't remember who the villain of that was. There's another like it was all shades of red.
Yeah.
Oh, Black Widow. Spoilers. I think she betrayed the team in that one because her and Tony had a relationship or something like that going on, and then she like almost killed him and whatnot, and it was great. But yeah, I feel like something having to do with the Ultimates as if nothing else, as some kind of a refresh, and I would hate for it to be this way, but I almost feel like you would throw the refresh equipment cards in there, but I still think that's going to be its own deck. They'll have a season 1 deck and a season 2 deck for if you got season 1, didn't get season 2, but you're coming to get season 3. But yeah, I feel like it's gonna be but something with the Ultimates I feel like is gonna be a good. And when I say Ultimates, I'm not talking about the entire Ultimate universe, but specifically the Ultimates. Only because of the fact that you would get slightly stronger versions of the characters. So
we already have Miles Morales, who technically is.
We already have Miles Morales. We already have. You could argue that the Nick Fury from the stretch goal box is based off of the Nick Fury from the Ultimates. He's technically. It's a weird thing, and I think I've explained this before. It's a weird thing where like they made mention in one of the issues of Ultimates that their Nick Fury looked like Samuel L. Jackson, and then Samuel L. Jackson read that because he's a big comic book reader, and then campaigned with Kevin Feige to be the new Nick Fury.
Oh.
And so yeah, life finds a way.
We couldn't have David Hasselhoff do it again.
Yes, we could. Don't disrespect the Hoff, man.
Listen, there's a reason that was a made-for-TV movie.
I was going to go into another rant about something, but it's not appropriate for this thing. But he was in Guardians of Go-Go, okay?
I know.
Okay. That's all we're going to say about that. So, that was all of our expansion ideas, right?
Yep. So here's the note. We know it's not going to happen, but...
Well, before we get into the no, it's not going to happen, I have, because I can, it's my channel, I have a bunch of what I call blanket teams.
Okay.
Because these are a bunch of things that I could say this one character would be in the game, but I feel like it would have a bunch of characters in it. And again, I'm going under the assumption more of that, like, this is cosmic and then filling in some stuff from season 1, it seems like. But I have a couple things.
I think I know where you're going with this, and
Well, one, blanket teams, I feel like Young Avengers may not be an expansion, but thrown in the stretch goals.
Yeah.
And again, these are all things like I say blanket teams. These are teams kind of like how in X-Men United, Marvel United X-Men, the members of X Factor, technically X Force, X Factor, X Force, Excalibur, and Alpha Flight were all stretch goals. Um, because I think we talked about this before X Men Unite. I actually had a spreadsheet because I'm way more knowledgeable about the X Men stuff. I actually had a spreadsheet of how I thought those expansions were going to go, and was like 50% right. I think the X Force box was the only one I knew of.
They were.
But so kind of under the same thing. These are my ideas here are all these are blanket teams that I feel like are going to go into the stretch goals, but are not going to be an expansion of the game. So you already said Young Avengers. You think it's
Yeah.
going to be an expansion? I feel like it's just going to be in stretch goals somewhere, probably. Um, my first video I talked about both these teams, Inhumans and Eternals. The
Yeah.
Eternals, there's a movie about them. Inhumans, unfortunately, had a failed TV show, and failed comic book series because they're not the X Men. But I feel like Black Bolt, Medusa, Crystal,
Lockjaw,
Karnak,
Karnak,
would all be good candidates.
Triton.
There, would all be good candidates for stretch goals, mixed in there with some other characters. Eternals, I don't, I again, I'm not really familiar with that movie as much. I realized that this video I did where I said I watched it, and then I realized no, I didn't watch it because I'm like, I've seen clips and stuff of it, but I actually haven't watched the movie.
I mean, I watched it. I can't really tell you. I think the best part about it was they introduced Black Knight, Dane Whitman.
Right, and that goes with another thing is there's a bunch of Avengers that we have that are still not in the game. A bunch of X Men. I covered this already. I'm not going to go over it. It's we're how far are we in this movie? We're almost an hour in. We're almost an hour recording. But yeah, so those are blanket teams. Runaways.
Yeah, they had a TV show.
They had a TV show. Very, I don't know how sales wise. I don't know how much the comics have ever made, but I know it's a very popular team. You mentioned it was something else you said, but the OG Guardians of the Galaxy. Putting those in there, and then just for the fact that I want one character to be in the game, which is Speedball. I want them to throw the New Warriors in there, just because I want to have a penance character too. Not that I like the character, I just think it's like you weren't on comic book forums at the time, I'm assuming, right? So I spent a lot of times for some reason on like Newsarama and other comic book forums back when those places were good and they actually had like a forum and everything on there. There were so many up to the lead up of Civil War. There were two things that Joe Quesada, who was editor in chief of Marvel, did during his Cup of Joe like interviews with Newsarama at the time and other places. Is he always talked about how he hated the marriage between Spider-Man and Mary Jane, wanted to get rid of it. One more day, R.I.P. But the other thing he would always do is he would always talk about how crummy a character Speedball was, and it was to get the intention for him was not to necessarily trash the character, but to get people to actually care about the character. So that way, because he was doing that for like a year prior, so that way when Civil War #1 launched, and I can't never remember the name of the town that started, but whenever that town got nuked by,
I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, the villain that they were going, because the New Warriors at the time were like Nitro.
Nitro was the villain they were trying to get. They were doing their reality TV show.
Yep. And so the Nitro exploded and destroyed the town.
It started with a C, I want to say.
It was in like Colorado or somewhere like that, or it was like
Connecticut. I want to say too, the New England area.
Was it Stanford, Connecticut? I don't remember either. I mean, comment in the comments. But yeah, I think because of the Civil War and everything, that was just such an important thing.
He was playing the long
game. Yeah, he was definitely playing the long game with that. My thing is, everyone talked about how even currently in the forum and like the Facebook page and stuff like that, people are talking about how much of deep cut X-Men United was with like the D-list characters and everything like that. Yes, I understand Dupe is a D-list character. But freaking Dupe, I don't know why like the change from X-Force to Ecstatics bothered me so much back then. It's like I was there, kids. It wasn't good. But people talk about how much deep cut the X-Men one was. I knew who every single one of the characters were. There's not one character I had to look up. I feel like this campaign is going to be a lot of deep cuts.
Yeah.
It almost has to be.
Oh yeah.
Almost has to be. So, with that said, that's my gripe.
Little tangent.
My little tangent on my blanket teams. Uh, for who we feel like is not going to be in the game, a character or a team or something is not going to be in the game. You say,
Pete Wisdom. Um, I know most from the MI13.
yeah,
Um,
he was part of Excalibur too for a
yeah,
while.
he was
dating Kitty Pryde.
But Captain Britain and MI13, that was one of the series that I remember it came out during the Secret Invasion,
Mm-hmm.
and it was I got hooked. I really got the characters, and then they ended it, and I was like, this sucks.
We're in the modern age, 13 issues is all we get.
I at the time I didn't know that was the thing.
Yeah.
And so I've come to get
used
to it.
At the time we didn't either. It was just now. Here is the thing.
And here you go. Here's 13 issues. If you're lucky, maybe 16. I think there was with the annuals, which was weird that there was like 2 annuals for.
Yeah. But, bookend series. My not going to be in the game because I feel like the Galactus is going to be the whatever. It's either not going to be in the game or it's going to be revealed 2 days before the campaign ends. This is how this one's going to go. I see people on the forum or on I always say forums. I'm not in 1995 anymore. I see people on the Facebook page, in the Facebook groups, the Marvel United groups, and everything asking for it a couple times. I know you've mentioned it, and that's the other reason it's on here is because you mentioned it. And if I'm going to be proven wrong on a bunch of stuff, I'm going to take everyone down with me. Is Fing Fang Foom?
Yeah,
I feel like with Galactus in there, and my personal desire for a giant man, that they're not going to do 2 large sculpts.
Yeah.
They could be wrong. They could bookend it. So that's what I'm saying. It's either going to be not in the game at all, or it's going to be like if the campaign it's a 2-week campaign. If the campaign ends on Wednesday or Thursday, it gets announced like Tuesday.
Yeah.
So
I feel like the other campaigns were about 3 weeks, but we might get.
I think they said this one was 3 weeks. So we'll it starts on the 18th. It'll end sometime after, sometime in early February. I told Elena, my wife, that I was because my birthday's coming up. I told her I was buying myself a birthday. I told my daughter that this was my birthday present. My wife just looked at me like,
nice.
She knows how much these are. But yeah, so Fing Fang Foom. I'm sorry, in my world he doesn't exist.
I just remember Marvel United, the video game.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Ultimate Alliance, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's the only time I've ever actually seen Fing Fang Foom.
Yeah.
Is that game, and I remember that he's like far away in the fight, right?
No, he's like one of the first big bosses. You fight him on the helicarrier.
Right, but he's on the helicarrier, but he's like over there somewhere, right? Like way over there.
Flying over this way, and then when he comes in close, you shoot him down with the turrets, and then he gets close, and you run up and punch him, and then he flies off.
James and I started that game, we never finished it. It's literally sitting over there on the shelf. Never finished it. That's why I never got the third one because I never even played the second one. That's why I didn't get the third one for the Switch.
I'd rather X-Men Legends 2. I played that one like so many times because of New Game Plus.
Mm-hmm.
X-Men Legends 1, I played twice, but there wasn't New Game Plus, so it was kind of disappointing. You finally unlocked some of the characters at the end, and you can only use them for like the last 2 missions. And I'm like, but I want to use you earlier in the game.
That game came out in the 90s, right? That was a PlayStation 1 game or a PlayStation 2 game?
It was on the original Xbox because that's what I had it on.
X-Men Legends?
X-Men Legends 1.
X-Men Legends 2 was with Apocalypse, right?
Yes.
I feel like those were PlayStation 1 games originally.
They had to be 2 because they were on when the original Xbox came out. And the original Xbox and PS2 came out about the same time. I remember I was in high school and people were talking about, oh, this is better than that's better. I honestly went with the original Xbox so I could play KOTOR.
Yeah. But you know what? They don't care.
No,
They don't care because if anybody's here, they're doing it for the board game part of it. So yeah, that is my. I actually have on this note on here because when we first started doing this video, I actually also put on here damage control. Because I wanted to have a mechanic where somebody, not like the main players fighting the villain, but somebody is like busy cleaning up the locations while the heroes are fighting or doing something. Don't know how that would work, but it would just be funny. Yeah, clean up the city while heroes are fighting. So maybe like do some mechanic where like the heroes are fighting and you're playing damage control doing stuff.
you know, that'd be interesting.
It would be. But I've rambled on about nothing for long enough. Fair point. Thanks.
I've been right there with you.
There you go. All right. Well, Jake, I'd like to thank you for coming out tonight.
Thanks for having me.
After work. It's like, as we're filming this, it's 1:45. So the delirium is very much setting in. So yeah, Marvel United 2, or Marvel United 2, Marvel United 3, Season 3, Multiverse, this video is probably going to come out either late Friday or sometime on Saturday. So, and then on Wednesday the 18th, Marvel United Multiverse will be launching on Kickstarter. Not available, launching on Kickstarter. They also haven't said when the Spider-Geddon box is coming out. They just said sometime in the middle of the year, so they'll probably pre-order in. Probably gonna pre-order in. So I think I said in my other video it's gonna come out probably sometime around Gen Con. But it's probably gonna pre-order sometime in the summer, to be shipped out around Gen Con. So
Gen Con's usually August, early August, so I would imagine pre-orders going up in June.
So pre-order that if you want to. If you don't, I don't care. Play whatever you want. I make no money off that. So yeah, so I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in and watching us ramble about what two people would like to see in a game. Leave your comments below if you for what you think is going to be in the game, either expansions or um, individual characters and the stretch goals and whatnot. Put down who you think is not going to be in the game. One of the things we did not cover, because I didn't want to insult anybody, is who would they put in the game that if they put it in the game, you would be like, nope, not pledging, not doing. I don't want that character anywhere near my table. Let's not name them.
Yeah, no,
because it's someone's baby. It's someone's pride and joy. It is someone's favorite character. No. It is someone's dupe.
Yeah. I respect that.
There you go. So leave those things in the comments. And yeah, thank you for watching. Like this channel. Subscribe to this video. I'm saying everything out of order intentionally.
Yeah. No,
yep.
Like, subscribe.
Like, subscribe, comment.
Maybe we'll do some playthroughs of season 1 and 2 stuff.
Maybe while we're waiting. We probably will not do it during the campaign because you guys are gonna just want to watch stuff about the campaign itself and not old stuff. But we'll definitely after. We kind of already talked about what it would take to play every villain and have every hero on the table, and do it within a year. That's probably not going to happen, but we'll come close, hopefully. But we'll definitely play some Marvel United either on the definitely not on the channel, but definitely try to do some on the channel itself. If you guys enjoy it, we'll keep on doing it. But yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. I'm going to quit rambling, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.
Later.